All right, welcome to the after work video where I study for the JNCIE-SP. So I'm working on Ntp, AAA, and SNMP. SNMP up and working. I don't have Ntp set up, but that's because I explored that in a prior video. So this video is going to be dedicated to AAA. And then my idea is to just set up Ntp quick at some point for icing on the cake so that we've got Ntp, SNMP, and AAA all able to work on this topology. So where I left off last video, I had to recover R1, but that is now up. So I can see how to set up radius. So TACX is Cisco proprietary, so we've got to use radius on Junipers. But I found a program called Free Radius. So CD etc free radius. Oops, let me find it. So CD dash find dash name free radius. Okay, so that's too bad that I couldn't find it. I wonder if it's even still installed or something happened. Yeah, I think something happened so that it's no longer installed, but I will reinstall it. Oops. Let's do a apt-get update. Okay, so now I can install it. Okay, so, but that's the easy part. The hard part is actually figuring out how to use it. I do have the getting started guide from their official website. So yeah, so I guess this is a Debian-based system because it's called Free Radius instead of this, and the configuration profiles are here instead of here. But it's kind of surprising because I thought it was Ubuntu-based, but maybe Ubuntu-based is Debian-based. I guess I'm not sure what they mean by Debian-based. If they mean that Ubuntu-based is the same as Debian-based. But okay. Let's go back to just the main site. Go to document, oops. Documentation. Concepts, yeah, let's just look at the overview concepts. Yeah, and this will be good for the test too because Radius is a part of AAA, so I'm all about concepts instead of commands, so this is great. How things work in Radius. The client sends the server a Radius authentication request. You don't decide what's in the request, the client does. The server doesn't decide what's in the request, the client does. The client is 100% responsible for everything in the request. Picking an auth type, authorize, the Radius server looks at the request and says, can I deal with this request? The answer to that depends on what authentication types you have enabled in the server, what the server can look up in the database, and what is the request. the server will then start querying the modules in the authorized section. Unix module, can you handle this one? PAT module, can you handle this one? MS chat module, can you handle this one? At some point, one of the modules will say, yes, I see something in the request I recognize. I can do something. The module does this by looking in the request for key attributes, such as MS chat challenge for MS chat, chat challenge for chat, or EAP message for EAP, or may just assume that it needs to add something to every request. If the module thinks it has a shot at authenticating the user, it'll say, I can't authenticate this user now. I was just told to authorize them, but my pal in the authenticate section can. Hey, set the auth type to me. If that module doesn't see anything it recognizes, or it knows it doesn't need to look up anything, it does nothing. I like that conversational formatting. Authenticating a user, authenticate. At the end of authorize, the server will check if anything set the auth type. If nothing did, it immediately rejects the request. Let's suppose that the client sends a request with a user attribute, user password attribute, and PAP is enabled. The PAP module will then have set auth type equals PAP. So in authenticate, the server will call the PAP module again. I see a user password, which is what the user entered. It's nice, but I need to compare it with something. Another module added the known good password for this user in authorize. So then it compares the local known good password to the password as entered by the user. This is how authentication works. The known good password comes from another module. The PAP module just does PAP authentication and nothing more. The benefit of this approach is that the known good password can come from the user's file, SQL, LDAP, etc password, external program, etc, i.e. pretty much anything. Let's suppose that the LDAP module was listed in authorize. It will have run and checked, can I find a good password for this user? If so, it will have added the known good password to the request so that another module in authenticate can use it. Insufficient information. But wait, what if the client sends a MS chat request? What does the Radius server say then? Well, that's a fine kettle of fish. That client has really tied my hands on this one. In this case, the MS chat module looks at the request and finds the MS chat attributes. It sets the auth type to itself, MS chat, a database module such as LDAP above, gets the known good password and adds it to the request. The MS chat module is then run for authentication. It looks for either a clear text password or NT-hash. Why? Look at the protocol table. If one of those hasn't been added by a data store, the MS chat module says, sorry, I can't authenticate the user because I don't have the information I need to validate MS chat. But now the server has run out of options. Its only choice was MS chat because that's what the client sent in the request. The MS chat module can't do anything because you didn't give it a useful known good password. So the server has no choice but to reject that request. The MS chat data might be correct, but the server has no way to know that, so it replies with a reject. Yeah, I really liked this documentation. I like the conversational style of it. But this leads me to believe that even without that module set up and configured and everything, we'll be able to use Wireshark to analyze packets coming from the client, which is going to be the actual networking devices here sent to the Ubuntu Docker guest, which will be the Radius server. So let's try that with router 1. Let's get a Wireshark capture going on this link here, and then try to set up radius authentication on router 1 so that it sends traffic out to the Ubuntu.guest, and then we'll worry about whether or not it can successfully handle that traffic at a later time. I'm kind of surprised to see a lot of this ICMP traffic here. Oh, you know what? I bet you I left a, so this is 10.4.2. Let's see here, show route. Yeah, so .4. So this is via this interface. So I can do show int and then that interface descriptions. So this is going to be router 2 is where I learned it from. I don't know if that's where it is on, but let's go to router 2. Okay, now let's do a show route. So yep, okay, so it is directly connected on here. Oh, but it's looks like it's .1 is the local, .2 is going to be on the other side. Let's do a show int description. Okay, so now we see that it's going to be on router 4. So router 4, I think, is just sitting there with a yeah. So router 4 had a ping, ICM ping going, and it was just timing out, but the traffic was actually making it through. So I mean, that's fine. I could have found it a lot faster if I had just, I think, done a trace route to, because I had the source IP there, so I could have done trace route 10 0.4.2, and then, you know, I could see it was 2 hops away instead of just 1 hop away, and I'd know that it was router 4 and not 4.1, which was on router 2, and it was the subnet connected to across the link. Because I just by learning of that source address, I can't tell if it's on router 4 or on a device connecting to router 4. I know that the network address 10.0.4.0/30 will be on router 4, but I don't know if .1 or .2 will be configured on router 4. I know the network address will lie there, but I don't know if that specific host address will go there. But one easy way I can find out is to do this trace route. And if there's only 1 hop, then it's to the device connecting to route 4. If there's 2 hops, then it's going all the way over to route 4. But I think the method I used was perfectly fine. One thing I did not do in the last video, though, that I'm remembering now, is I've got FTP configured, you can see, but I don't have a user account. Okay, so I'm going to need to create a class. It'll be a super user. And then I'm going to need to make the actual authentication method, which is going to be load key file. So it's going to be well, let's do it this way. So this way seemed to work pretty well. If I did FTP, oops, and I've got to install FTP. Okay, FTP is really nice and small though. So now connect. Oops, actually it's open. I keep getting it confused with connect, but it's open. And it's always possible to tell just by doing a question mark. See, there is no connect, there's only open. So, yep, we'll sign in with root. And then I know the password, it's clouds. So now we can do a send. It's going to be home, SSH, ID, rsa.pub. And then this is going to be key. Perfect. Close, exit. So now we can load this in, perfect. And now we can do a delete system services, FTP, so it's compliant with security standards. And we'll do a file list, file delete. There we go. And now we've got SSH authentication enabled, really nice, quick and easy. Oops. So it had an old key in there, so it's going to need a new key. There you go, but that's all it needs. Doesn't need a password or anything. You're just in there, and it's actually more secure than a password. Nobody can intercept the password. They got to intercept the whole key, and even if they do that, they need your private key as well. So this is the most secure way of authenticating, and it's really easy to set up. So let's continue on with trying to sniff out packets going from the Junipers to the Ubuntu server and looking for radius authentication. So we'll just start by doing it on R1. Oops, okay, there we go, perfect. So let's do a help apropos radius pipe match help topic. There we go. So now we can get some examples of radius. So system authentication order, radius password. So yep, this looks right. Not sure what this name server means. So configuring radius, the Junos software supports 2 protocols for central authentication of users on multiple routers, remote authentication dial-in user service radius, and terminal access controller access control system plus, TACX plus, okay. We recommend radius because it is a multi-vendor IETF standard, and its features are more widely accepted than those of TACX plus or other proprietary systems. In addition, we recommend using a one-time password system for increased security, and all vendors of these systems support radius. So radius is more secure and it's more widely available than TACX. So I think the issue, because this is something that has always confused me about TACX plus, they always say that it's not multi-vendor, but I see it on every single vendor. I think the client version is multi-vendor, but where I can go on the Ubuntu Docker guest and I can just find free radius. If I do a, if I log out of that first, and then if I do a apt cache search TACX, I would be, oh, I guess I wouldn't be hard pressed to find one. So yeah, I guess I'm not sure what they mean by TACX not being as widely available, because I don't see any problems with it. Let's install that and try setting up both of them. But we'll start with Radius. Even though I am more familiar with TACX Plus, I've really not used Radius a whole lot, but all throughout network through school. And most of what I've seen in the wild has been TACX Plus. We recommend, oh yeah. So let's continue. In the Junos model for centralized Radius authentication, you create one or more template accounts on the router, and the user's access to the router is configured to use the template account. In this configuration, if the Radius server is not reachable, the fallback authentication method is through the local account set up on the router. All right, so let's save this. Enable Radius authentication and define the shared secret between the client and the server, so each know that they are talking to the trusted peer. Define a timeout value for each server, so if there is no response within the specified number of seconds, the router can try either the next server or the next authentication mechanism. Okay. So this looks like for DNS resolution, I think this is optional. I won't need to do that, but let's set this up according to the help doc. So I saved the configs in I meant to open Notepad++, but that's just what opened it. It doesn't really matter that much which one I use. So let's do set authentication order. So this is the order in which, so when I log in, it's going to try to authenticate me to either just a password, Radius, or TACX Plus. I think traditional password authentication applies to public key authentication as well. Not sure about that though. But I can specify the order it tries. So if I give it the wrong password and I have that first, the next thing we'll try is reaching out to a Radius server. But traditionally what you will see, and what makes the most sense to do actually, is you have it in the order of the remote server first. So in this case it is Radius. Now of course you can just say I only want it to reach out to that remote server, and if they don't have an account on the remote server, tough luck. But then you've got to make that phone call to a tech that's going to be a bit grumpy with you because you're calling them out there because you didn't set up proper failover access for yourself if something goes wrong with TACX or Radius. So to set that up properly, you do specify a failover mechanism. If Radius server is down for some reason, you can authenticate remotely using the local password you have, which is hopefully secure enough. And it's not a security risk at all. In fact, it's a necessary contingency when something goes wrong. All right, so there's the set authentication order part. There's also a name server, but that's, I think, yeah, that's just for DNS. We don't need DNS. So let's do edit Radius server. And then our Radius server is going to be, it's going to be the Ubuntu Docker guest. So I have config, yep. So set Or let's do edit. And let's do set and see what we've got. So we're going to need to specify the source address because if I do route, I've only got a route. I can't hit those interconnects at all. So before we saw 10.0.4.2, well, I don't have a, oops. Well, I don't have a, well, I thought I was going to say, oh, no. So it's going to send it out my default gateway here, ETH0. So very clearly, my networking topology here, this is ETH0 out here. This is ETH1 over here. So if it's going that way, we're going to have a problem reaching router 4. So my Ubuntu Docker guest is set up only so that it can reach the management IPs on those devices, not the interconnects. All right. So, but that is fine. It just means, as I said, I'll have to specify the source address, because if I don't do that, it will just use automatic source address selection rules, which usually means it will pick the IP address that of the egress interface. So if I do a run show route 192.168.0.1, which is the route to the server, it would use the IP address here, which actually would be fine since it's directly connected to the server. But for other devices where they don't have the route that the server is on as a directly connected route, and let me do this because we can see, yeah, okay. Yeah, so this route here wouldn't show up as a directly connected route, it'd show up as an OSPF route. In that case, we would definitely need to specify the source address in order to get it to work. Here, it's optional, but I think it's better to have it and not just assume that, and to treat it the same way as the other ones and not make a special case for a special case. All right. So source address, we're going to use 172.16.0.1. And then we'll need the secret. And we'll use radius password. And then let's set the timeout as they recommend. Perfect. So, yep, it looks just fine. Let's go to the top, show pipe compare. Okay, and now hopefully there's going to be packets sent out. I will restart the capture because there's that bug where it sometimes just stops randomly. So this is interesting. We got ICMP traffic again from 4.2. I thought I turned that off, but maybe I put it back on or something. Yep, so I had that going again for some reason. But that is gone, so I think I'm gonna restart it again. Okay, so I don't think there will be any radius traffic until I attempt to authenticate, because then it will use the authentication order rules and it will reach out to radius at that point, but then it will fail over to the local cred. So let's try that on here. So exit, and then exit again, exit. So now we're going to log in with a different account. So, yep, here we go. Now it reached out to Radius. It's trying to authenticate, but at this point, of course, we don't have Radius set up, so it's not going to work. But it will fail over to local. So if I, well, now if I try to log in as root, it will fail once and it will send the Radius traffic. So I think the username might be in here. But now it failed over because it wasn't able to get Radius. So it failed over and it said, in just that one password I entered, it said, okay, here's the authentication order. You've got two set up. Now this is Radius. So is it working? Didn't work. Now you can do this. Okay, you're in, it works. So that's how that works. And it just all happens seamlessly behind the scenes. It's not like it rejects it and then you've got to enter in your password again, and then you're entering your password against the failover. Nope, what happens is you enter your password in once, and then it attempts all of those methods you specified in the order you specified. And if any of those methods are successful, it will allow you in with that method, and it won't tell you what method was successful. If none of them were successful, it won't allow you in. So, for example, I entered in the correct password for root, but if I enter in the incorrect password, it still won't let me in. You can have, on some devices, it just let you in if if you keep failing to enter your password. It's kind of a ridiculous setting. It's recommended to disable that on those devices. But let's give a really nice and clean capture. I'm going to do a, yep, so from here, I'm going to restart the capture and we'll get a nice and clean view of it authenticating through Radius, failing, but me being able to log in anyway, which you would think, oh, that's weird, you know, or you might think Radius was successful. Well, nope, that's not what happened. We set up the authentication order to try both Radius and the local password, and the local password I gave it was valid to what was configured on the device locally. It's the root authentication password. So I was let in with that failover method. So you can see we've got the Radius traffic, but Radius isn't even set up, so I shouldn't be allowed in, right? Well, it depends on what is in the configuration, and what I put in the configuration allows me in because I told it to, and let me look at the configuration. I told it to attempt 2 different kinds of authentication, Radius, and then password if Radius fails. And then this is the root account, so the password was set right here under system root authentication. If it were a different account like this one, password would be set differently. Yeah, and then if I log in from the CLI, my private key isn't going to match with this public key. This public key is tied specifically to the Ubuntu Docker guest, so I can't log in with this account because I don't have a valid key for it, and because it doesn't exist on the Radius server. But let's take a look at this Radius traffic. So I've got a big screen TV I'm on, and if I completely open up if I full screen it, it runs off the screen. I tried to use this remote to change like the aspect and all that stuff, but it's not working. And they didn't give me I only received one stand for my TV too, which I have to keep it in the styrofoam it came in. Otherwise, I don't have a way to set it on the desk because they well, anyways, they apparently thought that that I only needed one of the legs instead of two of the legs. So yeah, they thought one of these was enough apparently. But I don't even know who to complain to because I did not buy this TV. I got it through a bonus, a rewards program at work. So I guess I'll get a TV for $5 of my own money and just order one of these from Amazon. But let's go ahead and look at this traffic. Okay, so we've got the username, root, we've got the password that I tried, we've got the identifier of where it was sent from, and then the IP of where it was sent from. So pretty straightforward packets. I don't get why the length is 6. Is that the length of the password? Yeah, well, the password is 6. Wait, but why does password have length? Oh, I guess it's probably the length of the packet or something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But you can see it is working. Radius is based off of UDP. I think TACX is TCP port 49. I know that. I've done a lot with TACX in production. Let's see here. So I'm going to be looking at this. Oh, so it looks like this ICMP. So let's take a look at, yeah, so this is sourced from router 1. The reply we're getting back from the Ubuntu server, which is .2 here, is just an ICMP packet saying this port that we're reaching out to, 1812, is not reachable. So the daemon on that Ubuntu Docker container is not running for Radius because otherwise that port 1812 tied to the Radius server would be reachable, but it currently is not. So let's read the help doc and see how we can get that to come up. So getting started, that's where I was before. So it says always use this when debugging, but that's assuming I'm running a certain flavor of Linux. I'm not running that flavor of Linux, but let's try it anyway, but it will fail. Yep, but it will succeed if I do free Radius. There we go. So let's try it again. Oh, It's using port. Oh, okay. So it looks like Radius uses a number of ports. It uses authentication on 1812, accounting on 1813, and then proxy address on 1814. But let's see how it differs now if I try it with that debug mode on. So it should get new traffic unless there's the bug. So here's the timestamp. Or well, we're not getting timestamps. We're just getting the time that was sent. But so far we've only got 8 packets. So yeah, we would be getting new packets if it were working. So let's restart the capture. Okay, and now we'll do the same thing. All right, so now we've got it working. Let's see what those replies look like now from the Ubuntu Docker guests. So, okay, so we did not get a reply, an ICMP reply the same way we did. So it looks like that port is now reachable. But of course, we don't have an entry for that user. So let's try to set one up. And this is interesting because it looks like we never got a reply back from the Ubuntu server at all. Here we go. So since we got debugging on though, we can see, let's try that again to have this full screen so it's a little bit nicer to read. Root, clouds, and this debugging. Yep, there we go. So ignoring request to authentication address from unknown client. So I'm going to need to add this as a known client somehow. So let's look up that. Here we go, adding a client, perfect. So it's going to be under the clients.conf file. So let's find that. And let's open a new one here. Oops, but it's going to be through console, so it's not going to be, yep, whatever I do here is going to affect what I do there. But this debug mode is really nice because I can see all the configuration. Debug mode starts here, I think, or where was it? Here it is. So this is where debug mode starts. So hopefully our clients will show up here. Don't see anything yet. Maybe because there are no clients currently. So let's try to find some. Okay. All right, so this is the file I'll need to edit. Okay, so we're going to need to do client new, and this just gets added, I think, anywhere. So let's try to add it to where there are other clients. Actually, never mind. This is going to be the first client. Oh, here we go. So here's some examples of clients. So client, some host. So you can now specify one secret for a network of clients. We're not going to be doing that. Yeah, let's just add the client after this some host entry. It's going to be client, and then R1, IPA DDR, oops, equals, oh, that one. Secret, so it's going to be the secret I added in my configuration here, which is now encrypted, and I don't remember what it was. Yeah, so here's the secret I added. It's encrypted. Maybe I can scroll up to it and see what it was, but let's see here. So I think I can probably, I think I remember what it was. I can always reset it. I think it was just radius _ password. But why don't I just reset it, because I forgot what it was. So it's going to be, and I'll make it that so that I can remember. It's going to be radius _ password, which is probably what it already was, but now I know for sure. So we'll make it the same here. Perfect. All right. Okay, so I think this is good. I will need to add users somehow. So this is a client, but I also need users. So there's no, oh, here we go. Oh, yeah, it looks like there's no, okay, but this change I think is good. So yes. So, here we go, users. All right, so let's add a user. And unfortunately, I am violating my own, I'm not practicing what I preach right now. If I were doing that, what I would do is do a copy users to users.bak. That way, any changes I make to users that it turns out, oops, I didn't want to do that, I can just do a copy users.bak to users and revert them instantly. But I did not do that with that other file because I did not practice what I preach, but I am doing that right now. Okay, so let's read the documentation file. For more information, this file contains authentication security and configuration information for each user. Accounting requests are not processed through this file. Instead, see ACCT users in this directory. The first field is the user's name and can be up to 253 characters in length. This is followed on the same line with the list of authentication requirements for that user. This can include password, COM server name, COM server port number, protocol type, perhaps set by the hints file, and hunt group name. I haven't heard that in a while. Let's bring me back to VoIP. If you are not sure why a particular reply is being sent by the server, then run the server in debugging mode, which is not going to be this for our system. And you will see which entries in this file are matched when an authentication request is received from the COM server. These values are tested. Only the first match is used unless the fall-through variable is set to yes. A special user named default matches on all usernames. You can have several default entries. All entries are processed. Oops. In the order they appear in this file. The first entry that matches the login request will stop processing unless you use the fall-through variable. Okay, so that's good to know. But let's just see if we can get right to the configuration. Here's the default. It's here we go. So we got Steve, clear text password, a bunch of extra stuff. But this looks like the easiest. There we go. Here's one for Steve Wilson. So lots and lots of examples. I just want the basic, most easy one. So it looks like that was the one for Steve. Yep, Steve Wilson. So user Steve Wilson will only get a static IP number if he logs in with a framed protocol. Wasn't there another one for Steve up here? Oh, no, John Doe. So this is an entry for a user with a space in their name. Note the double quotes surrounding the name. Okay, so this looks like the simplest way to do this. In fact, mine will be even simpler because I won't require those double quotes because I don't have a space in my name. So I'm just going to do a clear text password. It's going to be my password, and then we'll set up a neat reply message equals hello user name. You authenticated via radius. Okay. All right, so hopefully this works. Let's run this in debug mode. We have to run it in some kind of mode, but we'll run it in debug mode. Okay, and then we'll try to authenticate with that user account. There we go. So we made it. We didn't get the custom message, unfortunately. I don't know what happened with that. Oh, okay. So, it looks like it was sent, but it just never made it to the device. But yeah, we're able to authenticate now through Radius. Very nice. So that was, that was the whole goal, I guess. Let me do a show system uptime, local clock. So let's set up NTP. I think it's .2. Yeah. Okay, and then we can install screen. So we'll do apt-get install screen. All right, and then we can have multiple services just running on this device. We can have free Radius running in debug mode. You can always come back and check on it. So that's in a detached screen. And now we can also have NTP running as soon as that is installed. Oh. Okay, so I think I see it. So oops, it's not a directory. It's a file. Okay, so we started the NTP server D daemon. So hopefully so it looks like it's in init. It's not let's see here. Show Ntp status. So it started the server daemon. Oh, there's nothing in there. Here's some doc. Oh, it's a directory. Oh, still nothing in there. Oh, I've got to go. There we go. Here we go. So here we can read the README and do all kinds of things. So let's look at readme.versions. That's just information about the updates. This looks like HTML. So I thought I had the daemon started. Okay, so it's running. Yeah, it's just in init. So let's Google this. Yeah. So it's stuck in a init state. Let's figure out why that is. Well, I mean, I can try that. Let me try that. Oh, okay. Yep. So it was just a matter of having the source address be incorrect. So let's do a show NTP associations, which I already did. Let's do a show NTP status. So let's see how this looks different. I don't really see anything different. Let's do a show system uptime. Oh, so we still got time source local clock, even though it looks like the NTP. It's fine. Let's do a set date NTP. No server suitable for synchronization found. So that might be why it's still set to the local clock, even though I do a show NTP associations, and you can see I've got a proper association. It's, I think, still not suitable for synchronization. So let's try to figure out why it's not suitable for synchronization. Okay, let's start with more help on this. Oh, okay. So yep, I don't have this listed as a server that I can allow. So, or sorry, of a client that I can allow. So let's see how I need to add it. It'd be nice if I could add the whole. So use servers from the Ntp Pool product. Okay, so this is what we're using now from the pool. So this is for specifying the servers we're going to use. We need to specify which clients are allowed to belong to this. Clients from this subnet have unlimited access, but only if cryptographically authenticated. If you want to provide your local subnet, change to the next line. If you want to listen to, so I definitely think it's got to be here, clients from this subnet. So we're going to, first of all, let me practice what I preach here and not save anything, and then do a copy, because if you work with me, you will hear me call you out on this every time you don't do that. So the fact that I'm not calling out myself means I'm one of those people. But now I'm no longer one of those people. I'm practicing what I preach. All right. So let's add that. So it's going to be, now this restrict is a strange way to say it, but let's try it. Oops. Okay, so maybe it works now. Oh, we've got a new NTP association now. Still got local clock. So I don't understand. Oh, I need to restart it now that I added that. Okay, so we still got no server suitable for synchronization found. So there's still some kind of issue here. So the port being firewalled, that's interesting. Let's do another Google search. Yeah, so I think this is my problem, is that my Ubuntu server is not actually working as an NTP server. Some NTP servers will not answer client requests until they have synchronized with an upstream peer. So I don't think this server has done that. So yep, I do have routing set up. So set NTP date. Yep, and I do have the source address arguments. So these are all really good things to look for, but unfortunately I have already got them covered. I think the problem is definitely with the Ubuntu server. So it's just that the Ubuntu server is not suitable for some reason. So let's go back to that comp file. Yeah, restrict is a really strange word because it's not that I want to restrict it, it's that I want to provide go into the okay. Let me try this and then do the restart. Oh, still no server suitable for synchronization found. I think it is finding a server, it's just not finding one that is suitable for synchronization. Because, yeah, NTP, here's the source address, here's the server. No problem hitting the server. Even when I specify the source address. No problems at all, so it's just that it's not suitable for synchronization for some reason. But hopefully we can figure out why. Okay, let's try this. Oop, don't got it. Okay, so this looks like it might be good. We might be missing a package. Probably need, yeah, because it looks like we need this NTP date package. So let's try that. Because I don't think I have that package. Because I'm not sure why there's a separate package required. But I've got it now, so hopefully I've got the file that this person is talking about. All right, nope, I still don't have it. Let's see if this works now. Well, let's just see if this shows up anywhere within a file on my server. Oops, it's not going to be UN, it's going to be this. Okay, so it shows up. Oh, just permission denied. But let's do it this way. Let's do redirect it to my results txt. And then we can do a cat my results, and then filter out all these grep messages where there's a permission denied or some sort of error. I think where there's a valid entry, it won't. Yep. Or so function not implemented. Well, I don't see anything at all. Yep, so I don't see any matches for that. Let's do a cat, my results, type grep for originally what I was looking for, which is here. Or where is it? It's down here. Yeah, here it is. Yep, don't see anything. All right. Here we go. So here's my problem. Could not get NTP data. So processor system. So let's see if it's stratum 16, because that is considered to be an unsynchronized source. Yep. Yep. So yeah, it's stratum 16. So we've got to follow the solution here. Oh, okay, but let's follow this solution. So there are two solutions. Number one, sync the local NTP source with a public NTP source on the internet, which has lower stratum. For example, the local NTP source is synced with the 0.northamerica.pool.ntp.org public NTP source. Let's see what this one is synced with. So this is synced with the 0. Well, okay. I guess I don't see where it says it's synced with that. Oh, maybe the IP. Oh, yeah, I guess I don't know where it says that. Or sync SRX-A with a NTP source, which has a lower stratum. Okay, so I can sync it directly with an NTP server, which will drop my stratum. I don't have to but I don't have connectivity to, and I don't have DNS set up to. So I think a better way is to sync the local NTP source with a public NTP source on the internet, which has a lower stratum. So the problem is that I've got stratum 16. So I need a lower stratum than that. So show NTP associations. Yep, stratum 16 is too low, too high. So I need a lower stratum. Let's see how I can do that. So we can get help like this. Oops. Okay, so yeah, I've got to figure out how to drop this stratum down. So one way I can do that is to change the server to a direct public IP, but you can see I don't have internet access here. I've only got internet access to through the Ubuntu server, but that should be fine. I just don't know. Let's read about stratum 16. Let's just go right to the RFC and read about stratums. I'm going to need to take just a quick break, so I'll pause the video and be back shortly. All right, and I'm back. Might need to cut this short. I'd hate for this to go into another video, but I do want SNMP to, or I do want NTP to be running, and you can see that is our last step. We do have Radius authentication going properly. If I type in my name, Graham, and then my password, which is my underscore password, a password that only exists on the Radius server, it lets me write in. So it's very clearly, oh, and one thing we didn't do is sniff that. So here's the password encrypted. This is for root. Let's do a fresh capture of that whole process when it is successful. We've only seen it when it wasn't successful. Okay, so here it is. Successful. All we've got are 2 packets that exchanged. One from router 1. That's what initiated it. So we've got an access request packet, UDP, port 1812. So we've got some attribute value pairs. We've got the username. We've got the password, which is conveniently nice and encrypted. But there it is in its encrypted form, if there's a way to unencrypt it. Then we've got the NAS identifier, so just the name of where it was sent from, the host name of the device, R1, and then the IP address where it was sent from, which we set up custom source address. This would be different if we didn't have that. And now we've got the reply from the server. Same port, 1812, because this is a authentication request. For accounting, it would be on a different port. And then we've got the Radius protocol here. So reply message, hello, you have, so it made there, but it didn't show up on the Juniper for some reason. I'm not sure how to make that happen. I'm sure maybe there's a special configuration or something. I'm kind of curious enough to look into it actually. Let's go configure private, edit system radius, options, and then set attributes. Nope. So edit radius server, set, yep, set, oops, and then not set, I've got to do edit. Yep, and now set. Nope, so I don't see any way I can perhaps configure a way to show the message that was sent back. It's just not something that can happen with Juniper. What about edit system security or like banner or something? Or like edit security message system message banner. Well, I think that's fine. So here's the same thing for TACX Plus. It's called TAC Plus. So edit system TAC Plus server I think I'm just going to gloss right over this because it's the same. It's the same thing basically with all the same options. So it's just it's going to be over TCP. It looks like instead, but you would still have a secret. You would still have a name of a server. You'd still have to specify the source address. So it's really not going to be too complicated. Okay, so I would like to get this NTP to work though. So this stratum 16, we've got to figure out how to get that lower. So let's read about these stratum numbers. So we've got 94 matches for stratum. We look for stratum with spaces, narrows it down. Let's look at where it was first introduced. Okay, let's try to get a better, more simple explanation of NTP. So let's just go to Juniper NTP feature. Yeah, the tech library. Okay, and I read through this before when I did on NTP. Okay, so, but the problem is, well, let's see, let's go expand all and let's do stratum. Yeah, I just need a NTP stratum explained. So here we go, the stratum model. This looks pretty good. Wikipedia looks pretty good too. There's another one here that looks pretty good. Oh, and an introduction as well. It's been a while since I've worked on this. So where was it? Introduction. Here we go. Introduction. And then this one. So, yep, we'll go with all these. So here's all the stratum levels. Stratum 0 is the actual NTP clocks themselves. Stratum 1 is the server. Stratum 2, so gets less accurate the higher the number goes. Stratum 16 is just basically means it's just not accurate. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm not sure why I'm getting a stratum 16. So let's do Juniper Y. On Junos routers, you can configure the time manually by simply setting it. This is generally sufficient for smaller or less complex networks. However, for larger or more global networks, you should use Network Time Protocol, NTP, to set the time for you. NTP is an IETF standard described in RFC 1305 that synchronizes time across computers and routers on the internet. The router synchronizes the system time with an NTP server and periodically assesses the server to determine the correct time. NTP uses a hierarchical system of clock strata to derive time. The top level stratum 1 clock, also called the primary NTP server, is a computer that is connected to a high precision accurate clock, such as an atomic clock, or to a radio clock, such as a GPS, Lauren. Ntp Stratum 2 systems derive their time from a Stratum 1 system and are one hop away from a Stratum 1 system. Ntp Stratum 3 systems derive their time from a Stratum 2 clock and are one hop from the Stratum 2 machine and 2 hops from the Stratum 1 machine. Note that these hops are NTP hops, not network hops. These systems can be any number of network hops apart. NTP can have up to 16 strata. You should not confuse NTP stratum with the telco concept of clocking stratum, which describes frequency and accuracy. Well, you know what? I'll make sure not to confuse those two by not learning the second one. Okay, so yeah, so this is how you set it manually, but they're not telling you how to use. Yeah, actually, you got to point it to a server, but how do you configure that server? I mean, it's not a Linux command, so it's not a Linux test. It's a test on, well, it's text on something built from Linux, FreeBSD, so it's kind of a Linux test, but I don't think it's going to be this difficult, and I think the problem is just that it cannot, the problem is with the Linux server. So let me go ahead and set that up to draw directly from the cloud. So that's not going to be too hard to do. Oh yeah, well. Shoot, I'd like it to draw from the Ubuntu Docker guest actually, and it is doing that right now. It's drawing with the Stratum 16. I don't know why it's drawing with the Stratum 16. I would like it to not draw with the Stratum. Well, I do know why it's drawing with the Stratum 16 because it's 16 NTP hops away from the Stratum 1 NTP source. But I don't know how to fix that issue. So there's the drift stats. So here's the servers I want to use. Yeah, I don't think I need this restrict statement here because restrict it's the opposite of what I want to do. So I'm going to get rid of it. Yeah, I think this is what I need to do. So broadcast 192.168.0.3 is my broadcast address on my local subnet. Okay, so let's try this. The server is not suitable for synchronization. So why is it not suitable for synchronization? That I don't know, and is what I'm trying to figure out. So let's do Linux NTP. Aha, here we go. So yeah, this is kind of what I wish I had done initially. Yep. So commit Okay, so we're going to see this. Restrict is such a weird word to use. Oh, okay. So I think this is a kiss of death packet. This 16, it's saying that it can't use it because it's not authorized. So if I do a show Ntp associations, I've got that 16. If I pull up the Wireshark capture again, this time fresh. There we go. And then I try to pull that down again. I'm guessing it will say kiss of death somewhere. Yep, so here's a bunch of NTP traffic, but I am betting, yeah, in these replies here from, yeah, or, well, let's just look at some of them. So here's the pure clock stratum, unspecified or invalid. Okay, let's see if we've got this line. So we're already in that file, so let's look for this permit time synchronization with our time source line. Hopefully it's in there. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see that at all. Let's do a exit and then we'll do a cat type grep permit. Nope. Okay, so you know what? I guess I'll add it. Yep, so you got to make sure it has the following two restrict lines. It does not, so I will add those two lines. So here's the first instance of restrict lines, so I'll add it above there. So I'll say restruct. Let's try restrict instead. Okay, so hopefully that's all we need. The first restrict line allows other clients to query your time server. This restrict line has the following parameters: no query, prevents dumping status data from NTPD. No trap, prevents control message trap service. All right, well, let's see if that did it. We might need to restart it. Yeah, I'll try restarting the daemon. Oh, So that didn't do it, unfortunately. So let's allow specific machine. So we'll just add another restrict line and add another comment. Oops, well, there's no comments. So, oh, maybe this is it because I did another restruct. But let's add that extra line just in case. Looks good to me. Let's restart it. Okay, and hopefully things are better now. Things are not better. And it's because oh, so we've got stratum 3 now instead of stratum 3.6. Instead of that, you can tell that I'm kind of losing it. I want to stop this video as soon as I can. But it looks like, oh, so we've got stratum 3 here, but now when I do a status, I've got stratum 16 in the status, even though I've got stratum 3 in the associations. What the heck? Now it's changed. Now it's got stratum 2. Why is it still stratum 16 in the status if it's stratum 2 in the association? Let's do a show Ntp status. So stratum 16 in status, but 2 in association. Is that it? Because the time zone has to be set? I mean, I'll set it. No, Stratum's still at 16, even if I set the time zone. Yeah, I have no idea what is going on. Yeah, I think it has to do with the Ubuntu. What if I do a bigger private set system services? Do I need NTP? Nope. I don't get what this means here. I don't understand. Why is this not suitable for synchronization? I think it is. So let's do Linux. Oops. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Ubuntu NTPs. Oh, okay. So it's normal. So NTP q.pn. Oops, I did .n and meant to do .pn. So let's do .pn. There we go. So now we can see what is going on. So I think it just takes a while for it to trust. Yeah, it just takes a while for it to trust the remote servers. Because yeah, you can see it started at Stratum 16. Now it's stepping down, starting to find its way. So it's just that it takes forever to get this worked out. So if I do a show NTP associations, oops, it went back to 16 for some reason. Ntp status. Yeah, I think it just takes a while to work itself out. I don't think this is a difficult concept or a difficult. I don't think on the test this will be this difficult. I think they'll just want me to maybe set up authentication or just point it out to a server. I don't think they'll have me logging into a Ubuntu server and setting it up there. That's beyond the scope of the test. So I think this means, though, that I have NTP associations. I don't have AAA set up. I do have TACX configured. Yeah, so here's the AAA context. Yeah, so setting up AAA won't be too hard. I do have remote authentication set up through Radius, and then I am able to do a SNMP walk as well. I forget what the string is. So let's see here, SNMP. Oh, I didn't enable it on router 1, but SNMP is enabled on the other routers. So I will be able to do a walk on those still, if I know what the community is. Yep, so my SNMP string. So I've got NTP running, polling. It's just unfortunately not synchronized yet. I've got remote authentication set up here, which I'm going to call good enough for AAA. There's probably more than just that, but I think I'll be okay with that. And finally, I have got history pipe grep, SNMP. I have got SNMP set up as well, so I'll do a SNMP walk on the second device. Oh, I don't have this installed. So I'll do apt-get install SNMP. Yep, so now I can do SNMP walk -c my SNMP string -v to C, and then 1 2 0 and then just pull them all, and there we go. So got SNMP up and running. I've got remote authentication via Radius, which I'm going to have to call good enough for AAA. And I've got NTP, calling out to NTP, even though there's an issue with the Ubuntu server, but this is not a test on the Ubuntu server. It's just how to set it up on the Junipers. So I think I'm done with this topic. Yeah, unfortunately, it took 10 videos. I think I spent a bit too much time on this topic, but I'm very happy to be done with it. I'm going to add Wireshark onto the tags because I pulled that up. Definitely Linux belongs on there. I might add Ubuntu as well because that's the distro that I'm using. So, but yeah, it took me 10 videos, far too many. I'll add the links that I used as well. Some of the ones, let's see here. So I used this as well. That's in a previous video though, but I might just add, well, let's see here. Is there anything about Stratum? Yeah, so this is a good article. I didn't read it here, but I'll just add it here so that it's available going forward in the future. One final thing I would like to do is take Juniper AAA, yeah, and find the help doc here. Yeah. So it would be AAA new model. Let's see if I can do that. Private set. Oh, this looks like a Cisco documentation. Yeah, this is Cisco documentation. I don't know why that's in the Juniper.net. Oh, okay, here we go. So this looks better. So, oh, no, this is Cisco documentation too. I don't know what's going on. Why is there Cisco documentation given? Oh, here we go. Okay, so here's AAA. We found this with the